So here in this video, we're going to go over a price prediction for AMC stock. This is where I think AMC stock will go at some point this week and potentially close out the week. Now, sometimes these price predictions are right. Sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes we'll get there on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And then by Friday, we'll come down or go up or whatever. We're going to get into my expectations for this week. That's generally speaking what this is. Do I think it's going to be a big week? Do I think the stock can move a lot this week? Do I think the stock's not going to move a lot this week? That's really the big story of, or big narrative, I guess I should say, of these videos, these price prediction videos. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this. What is your expectation this week for our markets and for AMC stock? So number one, first things first, I want to point out where we are in this rally is inflation is coming down aggressively at this point. The economic data is holding up. The economy is on paper holding up. So it looks like we're approaching a soft landing. At least right now, it doesn't look like we're heading into a recession. It looks like inflation is coming down. It's taken a while. I mean, the last report we got on inflation was 0% month over month change. It's great. We're actually potentially heading into deflation. Walmart CEO, Target CEO, all these other retailers are basically talking about deflation now. Now, how did we know inflation was coming in 2021? Because these retailers were saying, you know, these companies that are selling products at our stores are raising prices. So we knew inflation was coming based on, well, one of the first heads up we had was company earnings calls in Q1, Q2, Q3 of 2021. By then, you had already seen inflation was starting to go higher. Even in 2020, like Q4 2020, there was a lot of mentions of inflation on companies' earnings calls. Now, people didn't forecast maybe it was going to go to the extreme that it did, hitting 9% at one point. But we still knew it was coming. Now it's like the opposite. Now we're hearing about deflation from company earnings calls. So deflation's probably coming. Deflation is much worse than inflation because it creates this loop of lower prices, more layoffs, less spending. Lower prices, more layoffs, less spending. If that TV company, for an example, used to sell a TV for $300 and now they're selling it for $200 or $250, some people are going to be laid off with that television company. Those laid off people might find it harder to find jobs because if that's happening in many other places, you're welcome. Any other places out there in the economy, which it likely is, deflation tends to be, you're welcome, tends to be pretty far and pretty wide when it does occur. Well, you could see how this is a circle, a spiral of a worsening economy pretty much, and ultimately a recession. Now, markets are not fully understanding that part right now. We're not expecting a recession. There's like a 70% chance, 70% of economists expect we will avoid a recession in 2024 as of right now. That number can obviously change and the situation will change. I expect it to. But as of right now, it's like we're pricing in like the Goldilocks scenario, or at least expecting a Goldilocks scenario, which is that soft landing. Inflation is going lower. Economy is holding up for now. Rates are forecasted to fall at least 1% next year. Could be more than that. But 1% right now, it's not like that's an urgent Fed's reducing rates because of a recession. So there's a logical reason why stocks have been moving higher. Now, at some point, we will start to see a broadening out of this market, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if you start to see the indexes actually fall or trade sideways because money is flowing out of Apple, it's flowing out of Microsoft, it's flowing out of Google and Amazon and even Nvidia to maybe a lesser extent, and going into a Tesla or small mid-cap companies, things of that nature. So I don't know if that's going to happen this week, but it could start. And we are going to get some data this week. We are going to hear from Fed Jerome Powell. That is on Friday. I do think Fed Jerome Powell's speech on Friday is going to be a very big deal, and that could definitely move around some capital, because Fed Jerome Powell is going to have the chance to confirm this rally, to confirm the fact that the Fed's going to be cutting rates. Maybe in May, that's when we're first expecting the first rate cut. Or Fed Jerome Powell is going to say, yeah, we're not even thinking about cutting rates yet. Maybe that's bad news. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, there's going to be big catalysts. We talked about them in the last video. Now, to start off the week with AMC stock, we did get some good news over this weekend. The Thanksgiving box office weekend, the 5-day stretch, this whole weekend, or holiday period, I should say, has been pretty strong overall. Not as strong as 2019, but the strongest we have seen since 2020 or since 2019. So the last, 3 years now. That's great news. This should be positive, even considering we don't have that many big films in theaters right now. There's not a lot of movies people are talking about in theaters right now, but people still went out to movie theaters. That should be good news. We also have Beyond, that Beyonce film that starts in theaters on December 1st. Now, December 1st is going to be on Friday. So this week, people might be excited about that. So I think the start of this week is probably going to be pretty good for AMC stock. Now, we are going to run through this Ortex data, and I really want to highlight this right here, right now, because I want to make it abundantly clear to everyone. If you are someone that thinks the MOAS is coming, well, instinctively, you can't believe these numbers are true. Now, I personally believe these numbers are very false. The short interest could be hundreds of percents, could be 200-300%, or potentially even more than that. There could be many phantom shares out there that shouldn't exist, that have been shorted. When you account for the legal shares that would be shorted, you're talking hundreds of percents short. Now, I could be crazy. I could be a fortune teller. I could be, Joe Schmo. Who knows, right? You don't know exactly. I could be making this up. I could be not. Who knows, right? Obviously, I'm not, right? We've been talking about AMC for a long time. But it's important that you come to your own conclusions. You do your own research. You come to your own speculative opinions on what the data looks like for AMC. Because if you look at the numbers quantifiably, what Ortex is providing, it's hard to make an argument for a short squeeze. So to some aspect, you have to believe these numbers are false. And I think they are false. So me reading these numbers out loud in this video is not confirmation that I believe these numbers are true. So keep that in mind. Short interest percentage of free float, 9.14%, $126.38 million worth of short positions. Days to cover, 0.76, 18.08 million shares currently sold short. Shares out on loan, 13.71 million. Cost to borrow, 1.27%. Utilization, 31.36%. Short score of 54.44 out of 100. You do have a cost bar average around 6%. Cost bar minimum around 1%. Cost bar max about 7.26%. I think these numbers are false across the board. I think there's no way that they're not. In my personal opinion, short interest is not 9%. Short interest could be 900%. Who knows, right? That's my personal opinion. That's why I hold AMC. That's why I think a short squeeze is still coming with AMC as of lately, is Adam Aaron and the IR team and the board, right? That continues to dilute shareholders at very suboptimal times. It doesn't take a genius to figure out. Rates are forecasted to go down in 2024. Stocks should do well from here, especially interest rate sensitive companies like an AMC. It's probably not the greatest time to be diluting shareholders. Obviously, AMC cannot figure that out. Adam Aaron has no idea what he's doing. We need a new CEO. That's the bottom line. I think AMC would perform a lot better as a stock if we had a new CEO, but unfortunately, we do not. Now, back to the original question of this entire video. AMC this week. Now, we do have some option activity as well. The Stock Tracker data is not updating, but there's about a 2-to-1 ratio for calls compared to puts. There's over 100,000 calls on this expiration. There's about 40 or so thousand puts on this expiration as well. Maybe a little bit less than that, but you guys can see here, we're getting zeros for this week from Stock Tracker. For whatever reason, it's not updating. Sometimes it does this over weekends. Should update coming tomorrow. But There's going to be some option activity. If we take a look here at the bubble chart for the option activity, let's go ahead and pull it up. For this week for AMC stock, you do have some activity around the $7 call, the $7.50 call, and the $8 call. So, you know, with that being said, 2-to-1 ratio, more calls than puts. People are pretty bullish overall, as bullish as you can be, considering Adam Aaron continues to dilute shareholders. Some people are betting AMC stock could retake above $8 per share. Now, AMC stock right now is trading at $6.90 per share. So to actually see a move to about $8 per share wouldn't surprise me. I think you have the conditions here where you've already priced in this dilution. It's clear dilution is coming or has already happened. That's why the stock's at $6.90 per share. I find it encouraging that you've seen a bounce from $6.52 to where we are now at $6.90. We could have continued to flush through there. We could have fell into the $5 range. That did not happen, right? We're closer to 7 than we are to 5. So I think that is good news, relatively speaking. Good news here in the bad news. Now, the RSI is at 33.02. I also think that is encouraging because you were at 29, and this day right here on November 22nd, you did bounce about 5% for seemingly like no good reason. And then you've kind of been trading a little bit higher Friday as well. Kind of sideways, but a little bit higher. The low is definitely not as low. And the RSI is at 33. So you did see a nice thrust of momentum in AMC that day, and the RSI is continuing to hold up. Overall, if neutral's 50, 33, you're very oversold. So to see an oversold bounce here would not surprise me. To as high as $8 per share would not surprise me. Again, because fundamentally, rates are coming down in 2024. Investors want to put their capital in high quality names, in household names, and names that have been improving their business over the last 2 years. Now, I would think AMC would see a lot more of this effect bullishly from the great shift of capital, as I've called it, if the business itself wasn't diluting shareholders, right? If Adam Aaron wasn't diluting shareholders, I think AMC stock would, be doing really well right now. I think AMC would be in the 20s if we didn't get that dilution following earnings, because earnings were great news. The strike, which was really the only negative thing you could say about AMC earnings, it got resolved like 2 hours after the earnings call. The next morning, we woke up to dilution. So in that scenario, there's not too much you can do, but I think the markets have priced that in, plus some at this point, really sending a message to Adam Aaron, you cannot continue to dilute shareholders. Now, just to get back to $8 per share, that would be a gain of about 15% from here. I think that is probably likely. 15% a week is not too crazy. $9 per share could also happen as well. Now, for the downside, if you don't get above $7 per share, so if you don't increase another, 1.3% or so from here, then you could fall back to $5 per share. I still want to be very clear. Like I said before, if you break under 7, you could fall to 5. I don't think you're out of the woods per se until you're back above 7. And then even then, you still could fall to 5. But I think it's more likely you fall to 5 if you cannot retake above $7 per share again. So that's important. I think this week you could either end the week at $5 per share, or you could end the week at $8 or $9 per share. I do expect this going to be a big week, especially Friday with Fed Jerome Powell. Fed Jerome Powell is really going to help confirm this rally or really reject this rally, guys. So that's going to do it for this video. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this information. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.